Morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming today. Today, we're going to be looking at the new PBLA module, CLB7 and 8, Participating in Workplace Meetings, that was created by Marjan, Bateni, and myself. This morning, we're going to go through a few things. We're going to talk about a guided tour. Well, we're going to have a guided tour. We'll go through the tour, and the session will demonstrate where to find help and support, how to use the new PBLA module with your class, files for in-class use, skill building and skill using tasks online, assessment tasks and rubrics online, and ePortfolio artifacts from the module. At the end, there'll be a question and answer. There weren't actually any questions on the registration form, so if you have questions throughout the session, please do put them in the chat and we can address them at the end. So that's what we're going to cover this morning. Just to get started, I always like to review this page, help and support. I'm sure that you can see my screen, but please do let me know if you can't see my screen. The learnit2teach.ca website, that's our public portal. On the public portal, you can find program information, resources, newsletter, which is a great place to find things like extra resources, links to articles that are interesting, job opportunities. There's also the live help, which is on the learnit2teach.ca site. You can find me there on weekdays, as well as John and Kevin and Pamela. We have a few mentors that work on the live help, and they can assist you in real time. They can also log into your course, so that's a great thing to have, someone who can go into your course with you and take a look at things. There are support documents on learnit2teach.ca and links to Twitter and YouTube. The other site we have, avenue.ca, this is where the teacher training stages are. The 2 to 3 exemplar course for stages 2 to 3. The teacher dashboard, where you can find your courses and enroll students and reach the binder. Learner courseware is there as well, and the Avenue Teacher Only Forum, which is an excellent place where teachers can support one another, ask questions, and get help from the team, as well as other teachers across the country. So we've narrowed it down. We used to have 3 websites, but now we only have 2, learnit2teach.ca and avenue.ca as well. Now, how to use this new PBLA module with your class. And what you're seeing on the screen here is 2 different images. One image is the online component, or what the students would see on Moodle or on Avenue. And the other picture that you see beside that is what I call the paper package. It's got all the information that a teacher will need to either use this module online, in a blended setting, or in the classroom. So that's important to note about this new module, that it can be used online or in the classroom or in a blended setting. Blended is perhaps the ideal, but given the situation of the world, we have to work with what we have. So what we're going to see this morning is I'm going to take you through the different activities that are online and show you how a teacher can access the paper copy or the files that they need to use these materials in the classroom. We'll go to the next slide now. Files for in-class use. So CLB7 participating in workplace meetings, it is a blended module, can be used online or in the classroom. And as you can see on the screen there, there's a section in the course called Teachers Only Files for In-Class Use, Hide from the Students. So I'm going to go to another tab just now, and this is what the course actually looks like on Avenue. And as a teacher scrolls down, there's all the usual communication resources, the big blue button, the print resources. And then here we find the new section, for participating in workplace meetings. Right away, at the top of the section, you can find the sort of condensed version module plan, or the teachers only files for in-class use. I'm going to click on that now to open this up, because this is where a teacher would probably want to start when they're first looking at this module. So in the teachers only files for in-class use, which is hidden from students, this is only for the teachers, you can find printable versions of all the skill building, skill using, and assessment tasks, including answer keys and transcripts of the listening tasks and the audio, video files, or any articles that you might need to do them as well. The very first file in this folder is the blended learning module package. So if a teacher clicks on this, they can open up the complete package. Now I have that package open on another tab, so I can show that to you now. It looks like this. It's 269 pages. Gosh, so that's a lot of material, a lot of ready-made resources for the teachers. And as it says, it does include a module plan that's adjusted for 2 levels, teacher's notes, skill building and skill using activities and tasks. There's goal setting and learner reflection tools, in-class and online assessment tasks at both levels, CLB7 and CLB8, and a reference list of additional resources. As a teacher moves through this blended learning module package, you can find the contents here, and these are hyperlinked, so you can jump to these different sections. So for example, vocabulary. If I jump to the vocabulary section of this document, that didn't work. I'm going to go back and I'm going to scroll down. I'm sorry, I forgot that I opened this in Firefox. If I had opened this in Adobe, these would be taking me to the right section. So we go down through this document, pardon the scrolling. There's a bit of a description of how to use the module, a little bit of information about the different sections in the module for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And then as you see here, everything in this module package is annotated or marked by these icons. Skill building is yellow, skill using is orange, and assessment tasks are purple. So as you go through the book, you'll find that at different sections in the book, let's come down here, this is the module plan. So it gives you an idea of all the different things and the competencies, the language focus. Please pardon the scroll. I'm just going to jump a little further down, and we're going to get here. This is a description of all the learning objects that are in the module, so you can get an idea of what's in this package before you start using it. And then once you get through the description of all the different learning objects, you come to introducing the module to the class. So this page here is an example of what we're calling teacher notes. It gives you an idea of what to do with these activities, how to facilitate them, if there's any marking you need to do. And for many of them, there are also additional suggestions to support teachers with follow-up or further activities. I scroll down here. This is the goal setting section of the package. So this helps students get ready. And there's ready-made forms for them to fill in before and at the end of the module. And here we get to the first section that is skill building, and this is the vocabulary, which I wanted to show to you. Notice the skill building icon in the top right corner. This gives different ideas for vocabulary skill building activities throughout the entire module. So different things that they can do. It does come with word family worksheets where we've taken all of the more complex or difficult words from the module and put them into the worksheet. And it also includes blank sheets at the end for students to put their own words into, as well as a phrasal verb section. So this does go on quite a ways. There's a lot of support for the introduction and getting started parts. And as we move through them, we come to the first section, which is the listening, skill building, and skill using activities. Here again, there's an activity summary, which goes through the different activities in this section for skill building. And then we get to the first one, which is brainstorming, what makes a good chairperson. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint now, and we're going to take a closer look at how a teacher would actually use this material. So the files for in-class use is the place to start, and that's where you can find all the files that you will need to support your students and to help the teachers to work through this material. This is a little picture here just to show you what we just saw in the course, the files for in-class use, and it does include the skill building, skill using, and assess tasks. They're not on the screen, but there wasn't that much room. So the skill building tasks online. Each skill building task in this module builds towards the corresponding assessment task. We sort of did things backwards. We created the assessments first, and then we went back and worked back towards them, building the skill building and the skill using tasks. Most of the skill building tasks in this module are designed to be auto-correcting. Some of them do need to be facilitated or evaluated by the teacher, but again, the teacher's notes will explain what a teacher needs to do to be successful working with these activities. All the skill building tasks can be used online or in the classroom. So anything that you see today could be done online or in the classroom. It's really up to the teacher and how they want to work or what conditions or restrictions you're working under at your SPO. The skill building tasks are supported by the teacher's notes for online use. As I said, there are suggestions for additional activities and files for in-class use, which include text, audio, and video files. Skill building tasks online. I just wanted to give you an overview of what you'll find in this module. So at the very beginning, there's a getting started section with a forum to get things going, a bit of an introduction. Then there are the listening skill building activities. There's a brainstorming, formal or informal, vocabulary practice 1 and vocabulary practice 2. Interestingly, in the listening section for this module, everything is listening. All the instructions are listening, all the students are doing spoken responses so that their classmates and the teacher can listen to them. So there's a lot of listening happening in that section. It's very interactive, which is quite a bit of fun. Keeps it more engaging for the students. After that, we come to reading. I was going to let someone in. We come to reading. We've got another forum there, a glossary where the class can build a vocabulary list, and then another vocabulary practice. This is followed by the speaking skill building activities. There's a discussion, then there's another discussion about giving your opinion. Phrases for activity 1 and activity 2. These are useful phrases for leading and participating in an information session. And then finally, the last one, useful phrases practice, which is a big blue button where students would be working together or with their teacher or in small groups to actually practice the phrases that they've learned in the previous activities. After the speaking, we come to the writing section. In this section, the final assessment task is to write notes from a Canadian workplace meeting. And so it begins with a note-taking discussion, a couple of interactive H5Ps about note-taking strategies and note-taking practice. And then there is another note-taking practice where they're going to summarize the main points of a video about change management. We tried to keep the content related to what the topic was about throughout. So there's various different activities that focus on different parts of Canadian workplace meetings. Now, these are the skill building tasks. We'll come to the skill using and the assess tasks a little bit later on. This picture looks a little confusing, but what I want it to do is to kind of give you a feeling of the workflow that a teacher might do. So if you start in the top left there, a teacher will go in online, they go into the teachers only files for in-class use, and they find the activity or thing that they want to start with for the unit. In this example, I've chosen the second skill building task in the listening section, which is this brainstorming or what makes a good chairperson. So following down, they open up this file and they get the teacher's notes. The teacher's notes explain how to facilitate the activity. They explain how to do the activity in the classroom. And they also include the discussion questions because this is a discussion forum that teachers could use if they were going to do this in person rather than online. At the bottom there, you can see the additional practice suggestions, and we'll take a closer look at this in a couple of moments. Once a teacher has seen the teacher's notes, they're going to go online and probably want to open up the activity itself. So here you can see the link that would open up this forum for a student or for a teacher, and the final picture in the bottom right is what it actually looks like in the online component. So we're going to take a closer look at each of these steps now and kind of show you how a teacher could work through this first skill building task in the listening section. So as we said, teachers will start in the teachers only file for in-class use. The files are numbered and also labeled quite clearly, so you can see LO2, LO3, LO4. LO is learning object, and so LO2 would be the second learning object on the course page if you're using this module. So opening this up, we'll open up a PDF copy of the teacher's notes, and they look like this. So as you can see, the teacher's notes give an idea of what the activity is. Then there's a section on how to set up, how to get prepared. This one uses the Poodle audio recorder, so teachers may want to assist learners with that in advance of doing the activity if they're unfamiliar. And then of course you would assign the online activity if you were doing it online. If you were doing this in the classroom, it's just a simple class discussion, and so the discussion questions are included here. They're the same as they are online, and students could use this to talk in small groups in the classroom. The additional practice suggestions are included below that, so these are ideas that a teacher might want to use to follow up, to continue on, or to build on this activity in another way in the class or online. Once a teacher has read through the activity notes in the files for in-class use, they'll probably want to go to the activity online. In this example, you can see it here in the listening section. Brainstorm, what makes a good chairperson? Also note on the side here these little boxes. This module is set up with activity completion so that teachers and students can be aware of what they have finished and what they still need to do. And some of them can be used, if teachers would like, for restrictions to keep students on task or have them only doing what's available, and then the next activity opens for them after that. These are decisions a teacher can make, but activity completion is set up in this module. So when a teacher or student clicks on number 2, Brainstorm, what makes a good chairperson, this page will open. And on this page, it's just a forum, very simple, but because it's a listening section, we wanted to have the questions and the instructions and the student responses all spoken so that students can listen to everything at the same time as they're reading it or answering the questions. So in this example, they would click on the play here, and the first audio player would read the questions to them so they can hear them. And then they click below on this audio player and get the instructions. Note here that they're not going to type their answers, but rather use the microphone tool to record their answers. So this is a spoken forum where their classmates and the teacher will be listening to their responses. A student would click on the Add New Discussion Topic to begin, and as it says, they are asked to reply to at least one classmate with a question or a comment. With the activity completion set up on this activity, a student will not be marked complete on this forum until they have both posted a discussion and made a reply. When both of those conditions have been met, the activity will be marked complete on the main course page. So a teacher or the student can get a better idea of where they are and what they need to do next. So this is one example here. I'm just going to take a moment to check the chat. I think I saw a question pop up there. Is it going to open for me today? I had a bit of trouble with this before the session. The chat doesn't want to seem to open, but I'll check that in a few moments. Thank you for asking a question if that's what it was. So this is the very first skill building task in the listening section. And just to give you an idea of what the different components look like. We're going to move on now. The second skill building task that I wanted to feature this morning is a glossary. It's a glossary activity where students are going to read an article from the Government of Canada, and then they're going to pull out the difficult vocabulary and create a class glossary to work with their classmates. As you can see, this picture is from the files for in-class use. And for this particular one, LO9, Learning Object Number 9, there are 2 files here. One of them is the glossary teacher's notes activity, and the other one is the actual reading that students will be reading before doing the glossary. So a teacher would click on both of these files to open them up, and this is what they would look like. Again, the teacher's notes, very, very similar to what we saw in the last one, starts with a description of the activity, a setup, tells the teacher what to do and how to get started, where the activity is that the students will be working with, which is Learning Object 9, and then again, instructions for what to do if you want to do this in the classroom. So if you wanted to do it in the classroom, you would need to have the article, and that is provided in the files for in-class use. Again, there's additional practice suggestions at the end to give teachers an idea for other things that they could do following this activity. Oh, my chat finally popped up. Okay, excellent. Oh, great question. I'm going to go back a page there. Thank you very much for those questions. Oh, and I've lost my chat again. Where did it go? The question was about all the abbreviations. It's kind of a system. On these files for in-class use, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's just to keep them in order so that these stay in order in the folder. PWM is participating in workplace meetings. So that's the name of the unit. All of the files have participating in workplace meetings attached to them. CLB7 indicates what the level is. And then the next part, SB, would be skill building. And later on in the other section, you'll see SU for skill using or assessment for assessment. And then the LO is learning object number 2, learning object number 3, and then a very brief description of what the title is. So in this one, for example, it's learning object 9, participating in workplace meetings, CLB7 and 8, skill building, learning object 9, diversity and inclusion task force reading glossary. So we tried to make the file names quite descriptive, and also the numbering will really help teachers to know which one goes with which. Again, notice here LO9, okay, and as we go down, we've seen the teacher's notes. It refers them to assign LO9 or learning object 9. And then I'm just going to jump a page, you'll see here number 9, diversity and inclusion task force. So these numbers do correlate to the files, and that will help teachers to know what they're looking at. It's going to go back a page though. These are the in-class files that teachers can use for this one. We saw the teacher's notes already, but here you can see the first of, I believe it's a 5-page article from the Government of Canada. This is what the students would be reading. And then these are the vocabulary family worksheets that are included in the blended learning package. In the classroom, you could print out a copy of these for students to use to build their own glossary. And for this particular activity, they can use it in the same way that students working online would use the online glossary, which is to build a list or a glossary of these vocabulary items. This is meant to be collaborative, so the students are working together. So in the classroom, you could have them work in small groups or at their tables to read the article and also to fill in the word family worksheet with the difficult vocabulary items. If a teacher was doing this in the classroom, they would come to the online component, and under the reading section, they would click on Learning Object 9, Diversity and Inclusion Task Force, Reading and Glossary, and then they would see this. This is a great activity. I really like this one because it's students generated. It's done by the students for the students. The teacher would be facilitating, checking, giving feedback, but this is up to the students to build this glossary. So as you can see in the online activity, there's some short instructions, and then there is a link that students can click on to open the reading online. It's in a PDF form, so it will open for them in a new window. And then they're asked to add 2 or 3 vocabulary items to the glossary. The teacher will be checking this over the week, and this is covered in the teacher's notes as well. So a student would come here and click on Add a New Entry, and then begin adding their activities to the glossary, their vocabulary items to the glossary. I like these kinds too because they're first come, first serve. So if a teacher wants to put this word in the glossary, they have to be quick about it before another student does. So it's a nice way to kind of get the class excited and engaged in their learning and working together to support each other with their vocabulary building. So this was this activity, a glossary. So far we've seen a form and a glossary, and next we're going to look at one of the H5P activities, the interactive content. So again, back to the files for in-class use, where the teachers will mostly be starting from. You'll see here, participating in workplace meetings, CLB7 to 8, skill building, learning object 10, vocabulary practice. You might notice that the numbers stop on the far left. That's because if you put 10 there, it jumps it up here after the 1. So we really tried hard to keep these files in order, so as teachers can work through the files for in-class use, and it matches the order that they are found online and in the learning package. So for this one here, Learning Object 10, Vocabulary Practice, it's a PDF, and when a teacher opens that, this is what they'll see. Now this one's a little bit different because this is an activity that can be done online or in the classroom, but it's not a discussion. This is an actual read the information, learn, study, and then answer the comprehension questions to check your understanding. So in the package, there'll be the teaching notes first. This one includes an answer key because there are questions and answers, and again, the additional practice suggestions. If a teacher wants to use this one online, everything is online in an H5P package, interactive content, so they won't need the paper. But if they're doing it in the classroom, they will need the paper. And there is first of all the vocabulary practice, which is the words that they will be learning. And then the second part is the activities or questions for comprehension that they will be doing afterwards. So this one I've got open in another tab. I just want to show you what that looks like in a slightly different view. So I'm going to come here again to, this is the one. Here we go, vocabulary worksheets, vocabulary practice. And that's this one here. So these teaching notes, very much like the rest, start with a description of the activity, how to set it up, where to direct learners if you're doing this online, and then some instructions for in-classroom. The answer key is here for teachers, as well as the additional practice suggestions. But then on the next page, and this is all in the blended learning package or the files for in-class use, these are pages that you would actually print and hand out to the students. So as it says, review the vocabulary items, then complete the activities that follow. These are the vocabulary items for them to review. And then there's a part 1 where they have multiple choice questions. And it goes down into part 2 with a fill in the blanks. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is the paper copy. And if a student was to do this online, we come back here, They would click on the number 10, learning object number 10, vocabulary practice to open it. And then this is what they would see. So online in the H5P interactive activity, the words that they want to study are provided for them on flashcards and then also on another slide in a list form. So this word here, refrain, as you can see, matches, let me just go back to the top here, boop, refrain. So here it is in the paper copy. And the same words, all the same words, are online in the interactive learning object. So students would be flipping these cards. There's 8 cards in total. There's pictures and words to support them. And as they move through these activities and get to the next part, they would get to the questions. So these here, this is part 1, where they're going to choose multiple choice, the correct answer. And as we saw here, this is part 1, current online shopping trends demonstrate. And we come back here, current online shopping trends demonstrate. So it's identical. Students in the classroom or online will be getting the same material, the same content, and the same opportunity to practice. So that's kind of what the skill building tasks look like in this module. I'm going to go on to the next one here. And now we'll talk about skill using tasks online. So the skill using tasks that we have for this module, they resemble the corresponding assessment task in the vocabulary, the structures, and the format. But the task itself is different. The content itself is different. It just kind of looks the same, feels the same sort of setup, same sort of process to move through the skill using activity, but the content is different. This was quite purposeful so that things are not a surprise for students when they come to the assessment. All of the skill using tasks in this module are designed to be either self or peer evaluated. There is teacher feedback as well, but we really wanted to focus on the self and the self-evaluation and the peer evaluation as well. At CLB7 and 8, students are a lot more able and more prepared to be evaluating each other in a meaningful way. The skill using tasks in this section are either automatically scored or include simplified scoring rubrics for learners. So there is the odd time where a teacher is going to need to go in and do some marking and give some feedback, particularly for essay or spoken answers. But as much as we could, they're automatically scored so that the students can have rapid feedback, and it takes a little bit off the teacher's plate as well. The skill using tasks in this module are already tagged for the ePortfolio and auto collection. They're tagged with both ePortfolio and the skill that they are asking students to practice. So that would be listening, reading, writing, or speaking. So this is ready to go out of the box. Students complete the activities. It will be auto collected straight to the ePortfolio. And when the teacher gives feedback or comments, that will be auto collected as well. So creating the artifacts that we need to support the learners with PBLA through their online ePortfolio or the binder. Now we're going to go into the course to take a look at some of these skill using tasks online. I'm going to go back to the course page here. I'd like you to note that this is my teacher role. So on this tab, I'm logged in as Paul Carter, teacher. And then on another browser, I've got Edge here. This is my Paul Carter sample student. So as you can see here, this is the course, CLB7 and 8 Participating in Workplace Meetings webinar. The picture matches the same picture that is in the section as well as in the paper copy or the PDF version as well. So if a student clicks here and opens up the course, they're going to come in. Interesting things to note as we go through this here. I'm going to scroll down to the section. So participating in a workplace meeting introduction listening, please note here for my student, this student has link 7 marked on, I'm sorry, there are groups in this course. I set up groups. One is the link 7 group and the other is the link 8 group. So in the teacher view, when we take a look at the same spot, participating in workplace meetings, listening, note here there is 6A CLB7 skill using task, and there is also 6B CLB8 skill using task. In the middle between them, there's a big blue button activity where students can talk together or with the teacher to talk about their takeaway from what they heard in that session. So that's a nice kind of follow-up for a bit of review and self-assessment. But what I wanted you to note is the groupings. So we've got participating in workplace meeting link 7 and participating in workplace meetings link 8 as groups, and these are set up with restrictions. So my sample student, Paul, he is a CLB7 student. So you'll note here 6A CLB7 skill using task. The group activity is there, but 6B is not. And so this student only sees the activities that are particular to their level. Okay, I'm going to click on the first skill using task here so you can see what a student would see. And this is what it looks like. In this one, they're going to listen to feedback from an employer about their workshop facilitation skills. All of our skill using and assess tasks include this information in the description. We put that information in the description so that it is auto-collected with the learner's work and the teacher's feedback for the ePortfolio. So it includes the topic, the competency area, the criteria, and what they need to score for success on this activity. A great thing to do if you're building things that you're going to have auto-collected to the ePortfolio is to add this type of information to the description so that it's collected and makes it easier when you're looking at these things in the portfolio with students for conferences or things like that. Again, there's some instructions. They're going to be listening and answering questions. You're going to see the comprehension questions first and then hear the audio. And then at the end of the audio, you can answer the questions. We did this in a particular way to try to sort of replicate how it would happen in the classroom. With audio players online, students are able to scrub back and forth, restart, listen again, listen again, listen again. And that isn't real world. You can only ask someone to repeat themselves once or twice, and then that's about it. So what we did is we set these skill using and assess tasks up where it was appropriate to try to mimic the classroom experience. So as you can see below, there's a time limit. They only have 1 hour to do the whole thing, which kind of puts the pressure on them in terms of how many times they can listen to something again. And then as you'll see, when the student goes in to start the activity, you'll see what it looks like. So this student already did this once, didn't do very well. Skill using, so they can reattempt this and do it again. I'm going to click on reattempt. There is a time limit for this skill using task. The timer will count down, and I'm going to say start the attempt. Now, when the attempt starts, the first thing you'll see here is the time left. So this timer is counting down. The student knows that when that's done, this is going to shut down. We give the questions to the student first, so they have a chance to read the questions. They can take a look at them, so they have an idea what they're listening for. So here are all the questions that they're going to have to answer. A student would take a few minutes to read those, and then they click on the next page button to listen to the audio. On the next page, all they have is the audio. They can take notes if they want to with a piece of paper, no problem at all. But what we don't want is we don't want this audio player to be right beside the questions. If that's the case, then students can use the scrubbing, the start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, and it's just not a real world experience. Once they've had a chance to listen to the audio, they then click on the next page button, and here they find the questions, but no audio. So at this point, they're going to answer the questions as best as they can, going through the different answers. These are all multiple choice, true, false, and then you come to the end and there's a few where they're going to type an answer into this chart here for applied questions, and a second applied question as well. Now, I'm going to say finish attempt. Oh, I'm sorry. After they have done the questions, they can click on the previous page button to go back and listen to the audio again if they need to. So keeping the audio on a different page from the questions is going to stop the students from being able to repeat and listen again and again and again. And the timer is also going to help keep them on track and keep them moving forward. If they have listened to it again, they can come back by clicking next page and check their answers again to see how they're feeling about them. And when they're confident with all their answers that they've supplied, they can click on finish attempt. Now, I haven't answered anything, but that's okay. It's just a sample student. I'm going to submit all and finish, submit all and finish. Now, this was a skill using task. And as I said, it is tagged for the ePortfolio for auto collection. The student could review their work here. You'll notice they didn't do very well. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom so that I can click on finish review. Now, at this point, a student could click here on the avenue in the header, the big orange avenue, to open up their student dashboard. Sometimes you have to log in again. Now log in again. And this is going to open up this page or the student dashboard where they can go to their binder. Now, my portfolio, you'll see here. Okay, excellent, really good. So updated 36 seconds ago, this brand new activity here, CLB7 and 8 participating workplace meetings webinar, skill using task, understanding workshop facilitation skills. Now, I'm going to click on the view here so we can see what it looks like. And in the artifact preview, what you can see, as I said, is all of the information. So the student score is here. They didn't do very well. But below that, all of this information that we put in the description is included, as well as the instructions. And then here is the questions. They can listen to the audio again in this file, and then how the student answered each of the questions. Now, obviously, they didn't answer any of these questions, but if they had, it would be there. And if there was teacher feedback, it would be there as well. This is another example. This is the same student in the same course did a CLB7 assessment comprehending a presentation. So I'm going to click on this one to preview. I did that last night with my sample student. And in this example, the student didn't do very well again. But again, you can see the different information is included up above. The success criteria is there, the instructions, and then down below the questions, the video, and then the student answers are down below here. Now this one I actually did answer a few, so you can start to see the different things there. And if we scroll right to the very bottom, this is the area where if I had answered those typed questions, these answers would appear here. So everything is included in the portfolio. It's been tagged for auto collection, and both the skill using and assess tasks will come here to the binder just like that. Now, those were listening. So if I click on the listening toggle, then we'll only see those two activities. If I uncheck that, then of course you'll see everything that's in this student's portfolio. And I'd like you to notice too, the sample student has material in here from the CLB7 and 8 participating in workplace meetings webinar class and Link 56 PC Avenue class as well. So remember that student artifacts, once they're in their portfolios, they go with the student. Whatever class they're enrolled in or unenrolled from, they will carry on and bring this information with them from course to course. The admin team is working on adding more ways to sort, so we'll have other ways to sort very soon, and a possibility for adding CLB levels as well for sorting tags. So something to watch for, something to be excited about. I'm going to return to the classroom now in my student role and go back into that one, and we'll come back to the PDF here. So that's the skill using tasks online, kind of what they look like. Going, let me just, I think that's good for that. Okay, I'm going to come back here in the teacher role. And just to show you here, I wanted to show the assessment. We could do it in the student role, actually, that would be better. So back over here, sorry, I'm getting a little flustered. In the listening section, we saw the skill using task. So I'm going to click on the assessment task now in the student role. I just want you to see how they're formatted the same. So different picture, different information. It's an assessment, so they only get one attempt at this. Again, a time limit of 1 hour, and all of this information included so that it goes to the binder. When a student, oh, I did this one last night, so I can't do it again. Okay, anyway, it looks the same. The questions are first, then the audio, and then the questions to be answered. They can go back to hear the audio again, go back to the questions to change any answers if they want, and then submit their final work to the teacher. Teachers going in to grade these things. I'm going to come over here now and go into the CLB7 assessment. I had forgotten that I did that last night with my student. So as we scroll down here, you'll see that one attempt has been made. So as a teacher, I can click on the one attempt there. I scroll down and I can find here, not graded yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and we're going to open this up. We'll scroll down. Here's all the questions they answered. These are the multiple choice ones. And then when we get down to the bottom, sorry for all the scrolling. I don't want to give anyone a headache. Here we go. So here, typing responses in the table. At this point, I can make a comment or override the mark. I can grade this student, type the responses in the table, and the information for how to grade this activity is included in the teacher's file for in-class use. So very interesting. Skill using an assessment task that look the same in order to support students in keeping a consistent look and a feel for them as they work through the activities. Assessment tasks online. Okay, we've already kind of looked at one a little bit, but each assessment task is designed using Moodle quizzes. The only exception to that is the ones with big blue button. Those are for speaking assessment. They're designed using Moodle quizzes, providing test security and control over timing and the number of attempts. So as you saw there in the skill using tasks, we often give them 4 attempts or even unlimited attempts. But on the assess tasks, only 1 attempt is allowed. So they get 1 chance at this, they have 1 hour to do that, and that's all the time they have. Each assessment task includes detailed rubrics for instructors, comprising both holistic and analytical considerations and with clear definitions of success criteria. Each assessment task is also already tagged for ePortfolio auto collection purposes, as you saw. Good morning, Marjan. You're
Good
here.
morning.
Time change, eh?
Hello.
I'm sorry. We're in the last 10 minutes. I'm just working through the assessments here. So I was going to show teachers over on the course again. We're going to jump back in there. And just to catch you up, Marjan, I'm sorry, we started at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which would have been 12 your time. So
Oh my God.
no worries, no worries.
No.
I'm sure our audience is laughing out there. They're saying, boy, he
Oh
really didn't know.
my God. Paul, I was so hot.
It's
I'm
okay.
just sitting here waiting. Said, okay, let me just join 10 minutes early. Oh my God.
It's all good, Marjan. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. So just to keep going for the teachers, I just wanted to show them the skill using tasks for the productive skills for writing and for speaking. We have these excellent folders here that are hidden from students. But for this assessment task, for example, if I click on this folder and open it, what you'll find in here is the information that the student would need. This is the student copy, and then the information for the teachers. So I'm going to click on this one. We've got it here in a Word doc format as well, so you can type into it if you like, or the PDF version as well there. I'll click on the PDF so you can get an idea for what we're looking at, and that's going to open in a new tab. So here's the assessment task as it would be given in the classroom. You would hand this out to the students. They're going to listen to the audio. They're going to take notes in this template here. And then at the end, this is where we find the rubrics that are ready-made to help the teachers with marking these assessments or for the skill using tasks. So everything's there. We've got the analytic and the holistic indicators. And then down at the bottom, the task success and comments from the teachers can be included there as well. So that's sort of what's included with these files for the teachers to use for the assessments. And we'll just go to the next slide here. And Marjan, would you like to talk about this one?
Sure. I think you already talked about this one. It's about the files that are already there for the teachers use. But what I wanted just to add is the rubrics that Paul just showed you, those are for assessment tasks, but for skill using, they're actually, you don't have that kind of rubrics. It's more pure and self assessment rubrics. They are way more simplified, and they're designed in a way that the students can evaluate themselves and assign, a score to themselves. And if you'd like, of course, you can jump in and assign the score if you want to use it that way. But the way it's designed is for students to be evaluating themselves or pure assessment. And I don't know, I think maybe we don't have much time, but maybe I can show a sample, Paul. What do you think?
For sure. Just opening this one here, maybe if that's okay. Is this a good example? The skill using
The
test?
assessment itself.
The assessment itself?
Maybe, yeah, let's do the writing assessment.
Okay. And you'd like to see the assessment itself?
I wanted to, maybe I can share a screen. Would that
Definitely.
be okay?
For sure, yes.
If I can make it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not this one. Hopefully you're not in that.
Too
Hopefully
soon.
you're not. okay. Okay, so let's say that you're on this, and so for the writing, or let's say even for the reading, well, productive skill, because it has a more detailed assessment rubrics. So once the students do that, so like I said, it's timed and everything, and they can attempt it. I have reviewed it before, but once the students attempt it and you want to go to the attempt and score it, then you will see the rubrics. Paul, did you show that feature or no? That where and how they can see the rubrics? I cannot hear you. Probably you're muted, I think.
Yes, please show them. I didn't cover that yet. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Let me just quickly log in as my student account. I'm not going to actually attempt it, so I'll make it very quick. Okay, so Paul has enrolled me in this one. So if I just go to my class and just try to attempt the same writing test that you guys saw. There you go. Okay, and Paul put me in CLB8. So I'm a CLB8 student. If I attempt the quiz, start attempt. And so that's how it looks. I can just listen to the audio, and the template is already there for me. So I can just, fill it in with hopefully correct information. And once everything is completed, I click finish attempt. So this is typable. Students can just type in this template, submit all and finish, and submit all and finish. So let's say that as a teacher now, I'll just go back in as a teacher and show you how you can see the performance, and also how you can see the rubrics online. Of course, Paul showed you that you can see the rubrics in the paper version, or in the folder that had all the scripts and rubrics and everything. But also, if you're scoring it online here, so I'm just going back, and there is one attempt that is just my student. I'm clicking on that to see the attempts, and here is Marjan, student who just did the test, and you see there is no score. So I'm just clicking on grade to see the performance. So it's just taking a little bit of time to load, but when you click on make comment or override mark, and when you do that, then you will see, well, there is a possible answer key. You see it only when you are in the scoring mode. You're scoring it, you see a possible answer key. And at the bottom, you'll also see use the following rubrics to score the assignment. And you may write comments in the box below, and remember to enter the final mark in the mark box. Now, originally, Paul, I think I told you as well that I had intended to say, just copy and paste it in the comment box below. This is the comment box, and it will show in the ePortfolio. But I don't know why that when you copy and paste it, it shows perfectly here in this comment box. It just doesn't show in the ePortfolio. But whatever you type in, it shows. So it's your call. If you want it to show properly in ePortfolio, then don't copy paste it from this template. Just use it. I just put it very close to the comment box, so it would be easy for you to see that you can write, okay, I think holistically it's a 6. And I just add up the analytic. Yeah, I think it's 2 for this, 3 for this, whatever you think. You can make your comments and say analytic, excuse my typos, and say, okay, analytic, maybe 16. And you add it up, and total score is 22. Make sure to put the total score here as well. And of course, if you want to make any comments for your learners, like please pay attention to point 4. Something like that. And when you click save, so it's all saved, and I finish review. And because they are all the activities in this module, they are already tagged, so you don't need to worry about tagging them. They will automatically go to ePortfolio. So let's just go check ePortfolio quickly. I have already put it on a different web browser because it takes such a long time to load ePortfolio. Paul and I tried it a little bit. Okay, so we are in this. So we go to ePortfolio and then choose this module that we are just testing for today. And the name of the student was Marjan student. And I can narrow it down because it was writing to writing. Anyway, that would be the first one I attempted. So I'm just gonna click on view. And in the view mode, you can see the score right here, which is the score is 22. And you can see here the success criteria is 17 out of 24. So this task is a success. And you can see that right away when you open it. And you see that there are 2 pages. It shows on the top because sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. Where is the second page? And you can see your comments at the bottom as well. That what is the score and pay attention to what, and everything will be in the ePortfolio for your convenience. There is some similar things in place for skill using. Just the rubrics are for students themselves. They are not for teachers. If you'd like to do it for them, it's up to you. But the way it's decided is for the students to do it themselves. I don't think we have time for me to show that to you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. But I think this is what it is. Neon and time difference.
It's all good, Marjan. Don't worry. This has been a great session so far. Do you have the PowerPoint there?
I do.
I think we're down. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Do you want to go to the last couple slides so we can give people our contact information?
Absolutely. Okay.
I was checking the chat as we went. I didn't see any questions. Let me just check here. If anyone has any questions, this would be a great time. If you'd like to put them in the chat or unmute yourself to ask.
Or unmute your mic, exactly.
Okay. All right. If you're interested in piloting this model, please do contact us. You can contact me at paul.carter@avenue.ca or Marjan at marjan.bateni@gmail.com. The project info is also there and our Twitter account as well. There will be more workshops coming up. We've got, I think there's 2 a week for the next 3 weeks or something. There's quite a list coming. Oh, thank you very much for the nice comments. That's very nice to see. Question here, how long did it take you to create this module?
Oh, don't even ask that
Don't
question.
even ask. No, Vesna, that's a great question. There were, I think in total, 3 of us worked on it, eh? There was you, myself, well, Larry was also working on it, giving us feedback. So, 4 to 5 people in total, probably. But COVID hit right in the middle. We had just got this started, eh? And then COVID hit and everything kind of went out the window. So in a good time when things aren't pandemic based, I think we could have done this in about 6 months, probably building this material, given the time that we have to work on it. But it did take quite a bit longer because COVID sort of reared its ugly head and threw us right off track. If you'd like to access this model, please contact your mentor, or you can contact myself or Marjan, and we can help you to get it into your course. And at the bottom of this module, there is also a teacher survey. So if you do choose to pilot this module or try it out with your students, thank you, Marjan, down at the very bottom of the section, you'll find for teachers, not for students, but for teachers, there is a survey link that you can use to give us your feedback, any comments or questions you have, or anything that you would suggest for further module development as we go forward. This is the newest, I think, the newest of our modules. There's a few more in the works right now. And well, you and I are working on a couple more, hey, Marjan? So we'll have more stuff for you by the end of the summer, I think.
Hopefully. It's amazing that we eventually are able to send out more advanced levels. I know that you were really patient with us, so thank you so much for being so patient. And we are very happy that it's finally ready for piloting. Just test it out and let us know if you think any changes are needed, and we can make changes if there are any. Yeah, if there are any suggestion recommendations, we would appreciate that as well.
Really good. I see another question there. How many instructional hours, blended model, will this course take? If you were to do everything in this module, I would say you'd want about a week per skill. So you might be spending the first week on the listening, second week on the reading, third week on the speaking, and the fourth week on the writing, for example. You'll also want to complement this with other activities from the additional suggestions and other material that you may have of your own. But yeah, I'd say you could spend a good month working your way through this if you wanted to really delve into it and give it your full attention, and the students as well. But like anything in Moodle or on Avenue, it is tailorable and customizable. So if you don't want to do this activity, you can hide it. If you want to add another activity to complement it, you can do that. So these things come ready-made out of the package for you, but teachers can always edit, alter, or tailor things to suit their needs. Think that was all for questions. Oh, new modules that we're working on for which levels? We've got another two we're working on for CLB7 and 8, and then another one for CLB5 and 6.
Five,
And
six.
yeah, and then I think once those are done, then we're going to turn our attention to the lower levels. We haven't had anything new come out for a while for CLB1, CLB2. So I think that will be what's coming up next. Always throw your suggestions or ideas into the Teachers Only forum. Jim and the administration are always welcome to hear new requests, suggestions, or things that you'd like to see, and we'll do our best to facilitate that. Yeah, this is great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marjan. No worries. I even said at the start, I bet you it's a time change thing. For sure. But thank you for coming.
Imagine.
And thank you for coming, everyone else, too.
Um, just wanted to say something quickly before everybody leaves. Just in case, I'm not sure, Paul, did you have a chance to show how to create groups and put restrict access for them? Because this level is a little bit different.
I didn't know. There is a webinar
Yeah.
for that. So I think if teachers have
Okay.
questions about that, we'll refer them to that one, perhaps. There's
Perfect.
also help file docs for that, too, that were just created, both
Yeah.
how to add and to remove the restrictions. So.
Yes. I just for this module only, because it's a little bit, just because the level 8, the CLB8, I've made a handout on how to create the groups and impose restricts just for this module. And so when we send the, are we going to send the video? Is it recording?
Yeah,
Or?
it's recording, and
Okay,
we'll put this up on YouTube probably tomorrow, and we'll send out an email,
awesome.
and you can include that there.
Okay. We can include that in there as well. Exactly, for you guys, just follow it. It's clear with all instructions and what to do with this module to put this CLB7 and 8 group and input the restrict access for that as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you. This is great. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming today, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Have a lovely day, everyone.